7 Days, One Flat by Suzanna York, Chapter 1, Double Booked. Emma Reed carried her suitcase up the final stone step and paused to steady her breath. The cool Edinburgh air brushed across her face as she took in the townhouse she had been picturing for weeks. Faded blue door, brass lion knocker, a quiet Stockbridge street that felt a world away from London and everything she wanted to forget. A week to reset. A week without Mark's voice in my head. A week to breathe. She reached for the handle. It turned easily under her hand. Inside the hallway, lights were on. Emma frowned. "Hello, is anyone here?" She stepped inside, dragging her suitcase behind her. A warm fog of steam drifted from the bathroom at the end of the hall. Then a man walked out wearing only a towel and holding a toothbrush in his mouth. Both of them froze.
"What are you doing in my flat?"
"Your flat, I booked this place for the week." The man spat the toothbrush into his hand and pointed it at her, like it was a weapon.
"I checked in at 3. This is my Airbnb. I have the code and everything."
"I also have the code. The host sent it to me this morning."
"Great. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. A stranger claiming my booking while I am half naked and foaming like a rabid animal."
Emma pulled her phone from her bag. "Look, I have the messages right here." She opened the Airbnb app, scrolling to her reservation. Dan stepped closer, reading over her shoulder.
"Booking reference 35418. That is mine too."
"That cannot be yours. It is mine. Let me see your screen." Dan reluctantly lifted his phone. Same dates, same reference number, same host profile picture of a smiling woman with a sunflower hat. Emma's stomach tightened. "So it's double booked. Great. Brilliant. Exactly what I needed."
I am not thrilled either. I came here to get a break from my life, not share an apartment with a stranger who bursts in like a burglar.
"The door was unlocked. How would you like me to enter? A dramatic somersault through a window?"
At least that would match the chaos of today.
Emma glared at him. Dan crossed his arms. Silence filled the hallway until a soft sound interrupted them. A small tabby cat padded out from behind Dan's legs and walked straight to Emma, rubbing its head against her suitcase. "Oh, hello. I did not know the host had a cat."
I did not know either. It just arrived yesterday and now acts like it pays rent.
Emma bent to stroke the cat. Dan watched, towel slipping slightly. He caught it quickly.
"Look, we should probably try contacting the host before accusing each other of theft and squatting."
"Agreed, but I am not leaving until we sort this out. I have nowhere else to stay."
Neither do I.
They stood in the hallway, dripping tension and mutual disbelief, while the cat purred like a mediator. It was clear they were both staying, whether they liked it or not. Chapter 2, Host Offline. Dan disappeared into the bedroom to throw on actual clothes, while Emma waited in the small kitchen with the cat curled around her ankles. The kettle hissed as it boiled. Cupboards rattled lightly in the draft from the old sash window. Emma stared at her phone, refreshing the Airbnb chat. Nothing. Perfect. I finally escape London, and the universe sends me a half-naked man, a missing host, and a cat with abandonment issues. Dan walked in wearing jeans and a gray t-shirt, hair still damp but looking far less chaotic. The cat glanced at him, flicked its tail, and immediately pressed itself tighter to Emma's leg.
"Traitor!"
"You cannot blame the cat. It recognizes good judgment."
I walked right into that one.
He pulled out his phone.
All right, I've called the host 3 times, straight to voicemail. No social media updates either. Her profile looks real, but it has not been active for months.
Maybe she is traveling.
Then why list a flat she cannot manage?
Emma took a breath. "Let me try." She typed a polite message into the Airbnb chat. "Hi, we appear to have a double booking. Can you please confirm which reservation is valid?" Sent. The app showed a single gray checkmark. Not delivered. Emma frowned. "It is not even sending. That means she has no signal or has turned off her account."
Or she has run off to Bali with our money.
"I choose not to manifest that outcome." Dan rubbed the back of his neck, pacing a short line between the counter and the fridge.
Great. I finally walk away from the corporate furnace that torched my sanity, and my reward is sharing a flat with a stranger during the busiest week in Edinburgh. Brilliant life choices all round.
Emma watched him pace. What are you doing here anyway? A holiday?
A burnout recovery program I designed myself. Step 1, quit job. Step 2, go somewhere far away from coworkers who still call me Dan the Man, like I am a mascot for bad decisions.
Fair enough. She set 2 mugs on the counter. Tea.
You are offering me hospitality after accusing me of being a squatter.
I am British. Tea fixes emotional fractures by default. He smiled, an actual smile that softened his entire face. Emma looked away from it, perhaps quicker than she meant to. She poured the tea while Dan checked the news and nearby hotel availability. He let out a low groan.
Every hotel within 5 miles is booked. Festival week. Even the dodgy hostel with the sagging bunk beds is full.
So nobody is leaving.
Exactly. And unless one of us volunteers to sleep on a park bench, we may need a temporary truce.
They both stood still. The kettle clicked back to silence. The cat hopped onto a chair and stared at them like a judgmental referee. Emma wrapped her hands around her mug.
Fine, a truce, but we set boundaries, clear ones. The safety, sanity, and personal space.
Agreed. Nothing complicated. Just temporary flatmate rules.
Emma pulled a whiteboard from a drawer. The host had left it behind with markers stuck to the frame. She held it like a negotiator.
Rule 1. Respect personal space.
Agreed. And I vote for a shower schedule, because you walked in on my dental routine, and that was traumatic for both of us.
Fine. Rule 2. Bathroom slots. Dan pointed at the tiny dining table.
Rule 3. Divide the space evenly. No colonizing the entire kitchen counter with beauty products.
I would never colonize anything, except maybe the biscuit shelf. She wrote it down. Emma hesitated before adding the next rule. Rule 4. No flirting.
I was not flirting.
I am not saying you were. I am saying let us avoid it so this does not get messy.
Fine. No flirting. Completely unnecessary rule, but fine.
Emma wrote it. Dan folded his arms.
My rule. No talking to me before my morning coffee.
That should be my rule, but fine. She wrote the final line. The board looked official, sensible, adult. The cat pawed at the corner, unimpressed. Dan looked at Emma with a mixture of acceptance and disbelief.
All right. These rules should stop us from killing each other.
Exactly. Through the open window, a gust carried the noise of festival crowds drifting up from Stockbridge. Laughter, music, a street performer shouting dramatically. Both of them paused. Both realized the same thing. They were not going anywhere. Emma sighed. I will take the sofa bed.
No, I will. You booked first.
You were physically here first.
The sofa is awful. The springs are angry animals. I tested it yesterday.
Then why volunteer?
Because you look like you need a good night of sleep more than I do.
Emma's breath caught. Just a little. She shook it off quickly. We will rotate. Alternate nights.
Deal.
Emma erased the last rule on the board and wrote the final addition. Rule 5. Alternate the bed. Dan nodded. The truce was officially established, for now. Chapter 3. House rules. The next morning, the whiteboard rules were hanging proudly on the fridge like a treaty signed after a long and exhausting war. Emma stood in front of it, while waiting for the kettle to boil. Dan shuffled into the kitchen behind her, hair messy, eyes half closed. He grunted.
Remember Rule 5. No speaking to me before coffee.
You just spoke first, so the rule has already collapsed.
This is why treaties fail.
Emma slid a mug toward him. Dan wrapped his hands around it like he was absorbing life from the ceramic. The cat leapt onto the counter and headbutted Emma's arm. Good morning to you too.
I swear that cat lives here rent-free and judges my life choices.
They both paused as the kettle clicked. Emma poured the water and Dan finally woke up enough to open his eyes properly.
She looks better this morning. Still tired, but softer. Less guarded. Maybe it's the sunlight. Maybe it's the tea. Or maybe it is the fact that the house did not burn down, while we survived our first night as forced roommates.
Emma sat at the table with her mug.
So, we survived day 1.
Barely. You snore lightly, by the way.
I do not snore.
You do. It is like a tiny train politely passing through the countryside.
And you talk in your sleep. Something about spreadsheets chasing you.
Dan choked on his coffee.
Of all the nightmares to have in front of a stranger.
Emma pushed her chair back and walked toward the bathroom, towel over her shoulder.
Bathroom is mine for 20 minutes. Rule 2.
She closed the door. Dan stared at the whiteboard rules again.
Respect personal space. Bathroom slots. Divide the kitchen equally. No flirting. Alternate the bed. Why does Rule 4 annoy me the most?
20 minutes later, the bathroom door opened and steam billowed out. Emma stepped into the hallway wearing jeans and a soft jumper, hair wrapped in a towel turban. She moved past Dan to the bedroom to grab her hairdryer. Anne glanced at the board again.
No flirting. Sure, because nothing says romance like arguing over shower slots and a cat who hates me.
He moved into the kitchen to make eggs. Emma returned a moment later, hair now dry and falling over her shoulders. The cat immediately walked over to her. Emma opened the fridge.
Rule 3. Shared spaces divided equally. Why is your half already overflowing with oat milk, weird energy drinks, and 3 jars of the same peanut butter?
Different brands. I am testing which one makes me less miserable.
And your conclusion so far?
None. They all lie.
Emma shook her head and picked up one of the jars.
This one expires in 2 days.
That's why it was on sale.
That was also why it should be in the bin.
She tossed it into the rubbish. Dan stared at her, scandalized.
You just threw away evidence from my emotional support collection.
You will survive. The morning unfolded in a pattern neither admitted felt almost domestic. Shared cooking, alternating counter space, the cat supervising everything like a tiny furry manager. By noon, they left the flat to walk through Stockbridge. Crowds swarmed the streets. Music floated from every corner. Flyers rained down like confetti as performers handed them out. Emma breathed in the air with relief.
This is exactly what I needed. Color, noise, energy that does not belong to my past.
Dan walked beside her, finishing a coffee he had bought from a street vendor.
So what actually brought you here? Breakup holiday, Emma stiffened.
Something like that.
You do not have to tell me.
It is fine. 5 years together. Ended badly. He was good at pretending. I was good at ignoring the pretending. Classic mistake, really.
Dan slowed his pace.
I am sorry. That sounds awful.
It was. But I am here, and I am not planning to cry into anyone's shoulder. So do not worry. You are off emotional duty.
Emma, you do not seem like someone who falls apart. You seem like someone who survived something heavy and now knows her own strength.
Emma looked away quickly. The cat had been right. Dan was trouble. They continued walking until they reached the market. Dan picked up a punnet of strawberries and lifted one toward her.
Rule 4, no flirting. But this is not flirting. This is shared nutrition.
Definitely flirting.
Fine, I take it back.
But he still held the strawberry out until she reluctantly took it. She chewed slowly.
Good. Very good.
You are welcome.
The afternoon passed easily, too easily. They visited stalls, sampled cheeses, laughed at a terrible street magician. And for the first time since she had arrived, Emma felt something she had not felt in months. Light. They returned to the flat just as the cat was waking from its afternoon nap. It stretched, yawned, and greeted them with a loud meow that sounded suspiciously like disappointment that they had left at all. Emma locked the door.
All right, I will start dinner. You are on washing up duty.
Where is that in the rule book?
It is a subclause under general fairness.
Anne rolled his eyes but nodded, and for a moment the flat felt strangely like a home. Not a permanent one, not even a sensible one, but a place holding 2 people who were beginning to orbit each other without meaning to. Chapter 4, The Blackout. By evening, the flat glowed with the soft warmth of lamps Emma had switched on one by one. Rain tapped lightly against the balcony window. The cat slept curled like a croissant on the sofa, while dinner simmered on the hob. Emma stirred the pot with lazy circles. It feels almost peaceful, almost normal, almost dangerous. Dan leaned against the counter, scrolling through his phone.
Still nothing from the host. I tried calling again, straight to voicemail. I'm starting to think she's been abducted by street performers.
We can report it to Airbnb tomorrow. Right now, we just survived the double booking.
Survive. Dramatic word for sharing a roof with someone who makes excellent pasta.
Emma fought a smile and focused on stirring. The room hummed with soft domestic sounds. Rain, boiling water, the cat snoring quietly. Then, everything went dark. A light snapped off. The hob died. The fridge gave a sad beep. The hallway fell silent. Emma blinked into the darkness. What was that?
Power cut. Happens a lot in old buildings, usually back in a few minutes.
Emma reached out cautiously and touched the counter. Dan's hand brushed hers by accident. Both froze and both pulled away at the exact same second.
Rule 4. No flirting, no touching, no accidental warm hand sensations.
Dan opened a drawer and rustled inside. A faint glow appeared. A small torch.
Found it. Stay where you are. The last thing we need is you tripping and suing me.
I would absolutely win that case.
No doubt.
He handed her the torch. Emma held it under her chin like a campfire storyteller. Dan snorted.
You look like a ghost trying to sell me insurance.
Let me process the fact that dinner has just been murdered mid-simmer.
I can salvage it. Maybe.
Thunder rolled faintly in the distance. The rain thickened. The building felt older and more alive in the dark. Emma glanced toward the living room. We should light a candle or something.
I saw a box of them in the drawer. One sec.
Dan found a long candle and placed it carefully in the middle of the table. He lit it with a match, and the room filled with a warm glow. The shadows stretched softly. The flat became quieter, closer. Emma sat opposite him at the table. Why does candlelight make everything feel like a confession waiting to happen? Anne leaned back in his chair.
So, since we are stuck in the dark, we could play a game.
Absolutely not. I know where this goes. Some terrible question game where we reveal things better left unexposed.
You say that like you think I'm going to ask something outrageous.
You give off outrageous question energy.
Dan nudged the candle slightly.
Fine, no game. But since we are trapped in the ambiance of a Gothic novel, we could at least talk.
About what? He shrugged.
Whatever made you choose Edinburgh? You could have gone to Cornwall or the Lake District or anywhere that does not double book you with a stranger.
I needed distance.
From London, from him, from the version of me that tolerated things I should not have tolerated.
Dan's expression softened.
I get that. I really do.
Emma wrapped her hands around the candle's warmth. What about you? What made you walk out of your job?
I had a moment. A very public, very dramatic moment. In a meeting with a room full of clients.
Define dramatic. He laughed under his breath.
I told the regional director that his idea was so catastrophically stupid, it should be preserved in an archive for future generations as a warning.
Oh, wow.
He asked if I was joking. I said no. The whole room went quiet. Then I walked out.
That is bold.
It was impulsive and terrifying, and also the first honest thing I had said in years.
Emma tilted her head slightly, studying him in the flickering light. You do not seem like someone who likes chaos.
I do not, but I like lies even less. I was turning into someone I did not recognize.
Emma nodded slowly. The candle flickered. The rain softened. The cat climbed onto a chair beside Emma and curled up. Dan watched them both.
She looks calmer now. Not fragile, just human and stronger than she realizes.
Emma traced the rim of her mug with one finger. You know, this blackout is almost peaceful.
It is, and weirdly cozy.
For a moment, neither of them looked away. The air hummed with the kind of silence that crackles before something shifts. Then, the lights burst back on. Emma blinked. Dan blinked. The moment shattered.
Well, that ruined the atmosphere.
Definitely. But at least we can finish dinner without poisoning ourselves.
Emma stood and reached for the pot on the hob. Dan moved to help. Their hands brushed again, just briefly, enough to make both of them step back as if scalded.
Rule 4 is suddenly feeling very inconvenient.
The rest of the evening passed quietly. Dinner was saved. The cat stole half of Dan's chicken when he was not looking. Emma pretended not to laugh. But long after they switched off the kitchen light, both lay awake in their separate beds, thinking about the candlelit silence and the fragile thread of connection forming in the dark. Chapter 5, The Fake Date. The next morning arrived far too early for Emma, who awoke to the sound of Dan pacing the hallway. His footsteps were sharper than usual, purposeful, agitated. Emma rubbed her eyes and sat up on the sofa bed.
If you are being attacked by the cat, blink twice and I will come save you.
Dan stopped pacing and leaned into the living room doorway, phone in hand, t-shirt creased and expression strained.
I need a favor. A huge one. Possibly the biggest one a stranger could ask another stranger.
Oh, good. This already sounds disastrous.
Dan walked in and sat on the edge of the sofa bed, running a hand through his hair.
I have a work reunion tonight. Well, ex-work. Everyone from the office is meeting at some fancy restaurant, including my ex, including my old boss, including everyone who witnessed my meltdown.
The archive-worthy meltdown.
Yes, that one. And I may have slightly implied that my life is thriving now, that I am dating someone amazing, that everything is great.
Emma stared at him.
You lied.
Not lied, selectively embellished.
Dan.
Look, I know how this sounds, but if I show up alone, it will look like I crashed and burned. If I show up with someone confident and smart and not a complete tragedy, they will think I landed on my feet.
And you want me to be that someone? Dan nodded slowly, bracing for rejection.
Only if you are comfortable. No pressure, no agenda, just a fake date. I will pay for dinner. I will follow any rules you want, and I will never ask for another favor again.
You are asking me to pretend to be your new girlfriend in front of your ex, your former co-workers, and a man whose idea was so bad you called it a cautionary artifact.
Yes, that is exactly what I am asking.
Emma should have said no. Emma planned to say no. Emma opened her mouth with every intention of saying no. What came out was something else entirely. Fine, I will go.
You will.
But only because I want to witness the social chaos you clearly attract. Dan let out a breath he had been holding.
Thank you. Really, you are saving my dignity, and possibly my evening, and definitely my sanity.
You owe me. Big time. They agreed to meet at 6 in the living room. That gave Emma 7 hours to transform herself from someone recovering from heartbreak into someone who could convincingly play confidence. A clock struck 6. The flat was quiet. Dan stood by the window, adjusting the sleeves of his charcoal shirt. He turned when he heard the soft click of Emma's heels on the floor. She stepped into the room wearing a simple black dress, hair loose, makeup subtle, confidence carefully painted on like armor. Dan's jaw tightened slightly.
Oh, this is dangerous. You look amazing.
You clean up all right yourself. The air shifted, just slightly. The cat strutted between them with the smugness of someone who knew exactly what was happening. They arrived at the restaurant, a glowing terrace packed with well-dressed people who spoke in polished voices and clinked glasses with careful elegance. Dan paused at the door.
All right, quick rules. You do not have to pretend anything you do not want to. If you feel uncomfortable at any point, signal me. I will get us out immediately.
What is the signal?
Tell me you need urgent ice cream.
That is not subtle.
Exactly. I will know you mean it.
Emma laughed under her breath. They walked inside. Heads turned almost instantly. Co-workers whispered. His ex, a sharp-looking blonde named Sophie, raised one eyebrow with surgical precision. Dan placed a hand lightly on Emma's back. Not possessive, not performative, just enough to show unity. Emma leaned in slightly. We can sell this.
We can absolutely sell this.
They approached the table. Sophie greeted them with a smile that was not a smile at all.
Dan, it has been a while. And you must be Emma. Dan has told us so much.
Has he just how much enthusiasm did he fabricate?
Only the good parts, I hope.
Dan's former boss, a large man with a suit too tight across the shoulders, cleared his throat.
Dan, never thought I would see you at one of these.
Life is full of surprises.
Emma watched him navigate the table with ease. He was charming, calm, composed. Nothing like the man who had called a director's strategy a historical warning. Emma leaned closer.
You are doing well.
Only because you were here.
Something pulled at her chest. Dinner unfolded in waves of conversation. Small talk, office gossip, subtle glances at Emma trying to calculate who she was and how Dan had secured her. Between courses, Sophie leaned forward.
So how long have you two been together?
Dan inhaled. Emma answered first.
2 months. 3, if you count the awkward early phase where he tried to impress me by pretending he could cook.
I can cook.
You can set things on fire, creatively. The table laughed. Sophie did not. Dinner ended with a round of drinks at the bar. Dan and Emma stepped aside, while others retrieved coats.
Thank you. Seriously, that was perfect.
We make a good team. For a moment, they simply stood there. Close. Comfortably close. Somewhere behind them, a glass shattered, and people gasped. But neither moved. Dan's voice dropped.
Emma.
Yes, he did not touch her. He did not lean in. He only looked at her with a softness she had not seen before. It was almost a kiss. Almost. But she stepped back first. We should probably head home.
Yes, before I start breaking Rule 4.
The night air was cool as they walked back toward the flat. Neither spoke, neither needed to. Both were thinking the same thing. A fake date should not feel that real. Chapter 6, Festival Day. Emma woke later than usual, sunlight pooling through the window and settling warmly across the sofa bed. Her body felt heavier, softer, like sleep had folded her into a deeper version of herself. The fake date played behind her eyes in bright little flashes. Dan's smile, his hand at her back, that almost moment, she exhaled slowly.
Danger, actual danger.
When she stepped into the kitchen, the smell of coffee met her immediately. Dan stood by the counter, hair still messy from sleep, pouring 2 mugs. He looked up as if he had been waiting.
Morning.
Morning. It was the first morning greeting that held no tension and no sarcasm, just something warm. Dan handed her a mug. Their fingers brushed lightly. Neither of them pointed it out. The cat hopped onto the counter and stared at them with wide, knowing eyes.
Do not give me that look. Nothing happened.
The cat blinked as if it disagreed entirely. Emma sipped her coffee.
So, what is the plan today?
Festival day. Food stalls, music, comedy shows. That weird street mime who follows people for 3 blocks. Mandatory Edinburgh experience.
Sounds perfect. They left the flat just before noon. Outside, the streets of Stockbridge were alive with color. Posters covered lamp posts like mosaic armor. Performers juggled fire. People queued for vegan crepes and card readings. Dan moved beside her with easy confidence, guiding her gently through crowded patches. Whenever the flow of people grew chaotic, he shifted closer without thinking. Emma noticed. Emma pretended not to notice. They stopped at the farmers' market first. Stalls overflowed with berries, pastries, and handmade crafts. Emma paused at a table selling small watercolor prints of Edinburgh landmarks. She picked one up and studied the soft strokes of color. These are beautiful.
You could make things like that. You sketch all the time.
He noticed. He actually noticed. Mine are just doodles.
No, they're good. You draw like someone who sees things that other people miss.
Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. She set the print down gently. They moved on toward a live music tent. A small band played upbeat folk songs while a crowd swayed along. Dan nudged her.
Come on, at least one dance.
Absolutely not.
Too late.
He took her hand with a confidence that surprised them both. Emma froze for half a second, then let herself be pulled into the loose crowd of dancers. Dan spun her slowly. She laughed. He smiled. The music lifted them both, like a tide. For a few minutes, Emma forgot everything except the moment, the music, and the man holding her hand like she was something worth holding. When the song ended, they stepped back into the open air. Emma tried to steady her breath. That was unexpectedly fun.
Unexpected fun is the best kind.
They moved on to a comedy show in a tiny underground bar. The comedian roasted everyone in the front row, including Dan, who took it painfully well. He destroyed you.
I am resilient, and also traumatized, but mostly resilient.
Emma laughed until her ribs hurt. Later, they found a small cafe hidden behind a row of shops. Its terrace overlooked the river. Emma carried 2 pastries, while Dan found a table. They sat. The world quieted. Emma looked out across the water. I feel different today.
Different how?
Lighter, like I finally stepped out of something I have been carrying for too long. Dan nodded slowly.
I know that feeling. When everything finally loosens and you realize you can breathe again.
Yes, exactly that. Dan leaned back, studying her with an expression that felt careful, gentle.
You deserve lightness, Emma.
The words settled between them like something fragile. Emma looked away, overwhelmed by how sincere he sounded. When she turned back, Dan was still watching her, not intensely, not possessively, just honestly. For a moment, she let herself meet his gaze without defense. This is dangerous, and I am still not stepping back. Unquotations. He cleared his throat and looked at the river.
You know, when we met, I thought you were going to kill me with a frying pan.
I still might.
Fair enough.
They ate their pastries in comfortable silence. The afternoon stretched into evening as they wandered the festival streets again. At a small performance square, they watched a young violinist play a haunting melody. Emma stood close enough to feel Dan's warmth beside her. When the song ended, she blinked away the sting in her eyes.
You all right?
Music gets me. That is all.
I like that about you.
Emma inhaled slowly. Something in the air shifted. Something in her chest answered. Something unspoken connected them both. They walked home as the sky turned soft blue. The city buzzed with evening anticipation. Dan held the flat door for her. She stepped inside. The cat greeted them both with a yowl of judgment. Sign. We are home. Stop screaming.
He wants dinner. He also wants me dead.
Emma fed the cat, while Dan poured water into glasses. They stood in the kitchen doorway. Today was good.
It was. Very good.
They held each other's gaze for a second too long. A second that hummed with everything they were both trying not to acknowledge.
Rule 4. No flirting. No romantic entanglement. No getting attached.
She stepped back first. I am going to bed. Long day.
All right, good night.
Emma retreated to the bedroom. Dan stood in the kitchen, hands on the counter, breathing out slow and conflicted.
We are in trouble. Chapter 7. The Misunderstanding.
The next morning began quietly. Too quietly. Emma woke alone in the bedroom to the sound of distant rain against the window. She stretched, expecting to hear Dan banging about in the kitchen, complaining about the cat, or accidentally setting off the smoke alarm with his experimental breakfasts. But the flat was still. Emma stood, pulled on a jumper, and stepped into the hallway. Dan was not in the kitchen. Dan was not on the sofa. Dan's shoes were missing from beside the door. The cat sat in the middle of the floor, staring at her, like something important had happened, while she slept. Do not look at me like that. I just woke up. On the counter sat a small note in Dan's handwriting. Gone for a run. Back soon. Emma exhaled. Slight relief. Slight disappointment she could not quite name. She made tea and sat at the table, scrolling through messages from friends she had been ignoring since she arrived in Edinburgh. Simple check-ins, little bursts of concern. She typed a quick reply to one of them. The front door opened. Dan walked in, hair damp from rain, t-shirt clinging to his shoulders. He saw her and paused, breath still heavy from the run.
Morning.
Morning.
Everything all right?
Yeah, just needed to clear my head.
Emma tried not to overthink the answer. Dan went to the bedroom to change. Emma stayed at the table with her tea. When he returned a few minutes later, he placed his phone on the counter, while searching through a kitchen drawer for a clean glass. The screen lit up. A message preview appeared. Emma saw it without meaning to. A name, a sentence, a tone. Sophie. Last night was interesting. Are you sure you're happy with her? Emma's stomach tightened. Her chest started to pull inward like a shrinking star.
Interesting. Happy with her. Why is she texting him? Why is he replying? What exactly did he tell her after we left?
Dan reached for the glass without noticing Emma's expression.
I figured we could go to the castle today. The weather is not great, but the views are ridiculous.
I might do my own thing today. Dan froze mid-reach.
Did I do something?
No, I just need space. You know, the original point of being here.
I do not owe him anything. It was all pretend. A fake date, a borrowed moment. Dan stepped closer, confused.
Emma, if something is wrong, just tell me.
Nothing is wrong. I just want a day to myself. You can go to the castle.
Dan watched her carefully. Something in her voice had changed, and he knew it, but did not know why. He picked up his phone, saw the message, understood. His face shifted. Not guilt, shock, then frustration.
Emma, it is not what you think.
I am not thinking anything. I am just doing what I came here to do.
Anne took a half step toward her.
Sophie is complicated. She likes to poke at things. It does not mean anything.
You do not need to explain. We are not actually together. We are just sharing a flat and pretending for one night.
It did not feel like pretending.
Emma's breath hitched, but she kept her face steady.
That is exactly why I need space.
Silence stretched between them like a rope pulled too tight. The cat sensed the tension and hopped onto the sofa as if abandoning the situation entirely. Dan lowered his gaze.
All right, if you need space, I will give it to you.
Emma picked up her bag, slid on her shoes, and left the flat without looking back. The door closed behind her with a soft click. A problem at Edinburgh felt colder than before. She walked aimlessly through the streets, letting the drizzle soak into her jumper, hoping movement would quiet the storm inside her head.
I should not care. I barely know him. We agreed on no flirting, no lines crossed, no hoods built. But the fake date felt real, and the dancing felt real, and that moment outside the restaurant, too real.
She wandered through the botanical gardens, letting the scent of wet leaves settle her thoughts. She sat on a bench beneath a wide cedar tree and stared at the path. Hours passed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Dan. I am sorry for whatever I did. I just want you to know I never lied to you. Emma locked the screen without replying. Back at the flat, Dan paced the hallway, anger at himself mixing with confusion.
Why did I let Sophie text me at all? Why did she even think she had the right? Why did Emma look like that when she saw the message?
He threw his phone onto the sofa and sat down heavily beside the cat.
I messed this up, did I not?
The cat meowed loudly as if confirming he absolutely had. Dan dropped his head into his hands.
Great, brilliant, perfect. The first person I have connected with in a year, and she thinks I am playing both sides.
He stood and walked to the kitchen, staring at the whiteboard on the fridge. Rule 4, no flirting. He almost laughed.
We absolutely broke that.
He waited and waited. Emma did not return until well after sunset. He heard the key turn. He rose from the sofa. She entered quietly.
Emma, can we talk?
Not tonight, please.
She walked past him, into the bedroom, and closed the door softly behind her. The cat trotted after her, leaving Dan alone in the hallway. He leaned back against the wall, exhaled slowly and quietly.
We are in deeper trouble than I thought. Chapter 8, The Distance.
The flat felt colder that night, as if the walls had absorbed the tension between them. Dan stayed on the sofa, staring at the dark ceiling. Emma stayed in the bedroom, fully awake despite her exhaustion. The cat wandered between the two rooms, confused and mildly offended by the emotional climate. Unknown non-nation. Emma lay on her side, knees drawn to her chest. Rain tapped quietly against the sill. Dan's message sat unopened on her phone. She had not meant to hurt him. She had not meant to shut him out. But the sight of Sophie's message replayed in her mind like a looped film, a reminder of how easily she had been replaced before, how quickly affection could be redirected. She closed her eyes.
I cannot fall for someone who still has pieces tied to his past. I cannot make that mistake again. I am not strong enough for the same heartbreak twice.
In the living room, Dan sat forward on the sofa, elbows on his knees, fingers tangled through his hair. He had never been good at feelings, never been good at explaining himself, never been good at saying the things that mattered before they slipped through the cracks. But he knew one thing with absolute clarity.
I should have told her Sophie texted. I should have told her the moment it happened. I should have told her she was the reason last night felt real.
He paced the room quietly, pulled a blanket off the sofa, put it back, moved it again, could not settle. Every few minutes he walked toward the bedroom door. Every time he stopped just short of knocking. He did not want to push her further away. Morning came slowly. Gray light seeped into the flat. Emma opened the bedroom door quietly. Dan was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a mug he had not touched. He looked up, but did not stand.
Good morning.
Morning. Silence stretched between them. A silence neither knew how to break without shattering the fragile ground beneath them. Emma moved toward the kettle. Dan rose as if pulled by instinct.
Emma, about yesterday.
She held up a hand, a gentle stop.
You do not have to explain anything. This whole thing, it got too blurred. And it is not your fault. I let it happen too.
It was not fake for me.
Emma inhaled sharply, but she kept her gaze on the kettle.
Dan, we came here to get away from our pasts, not build new complications. I need to remember why I came in the first place.
And what about why you stayed?
Her throat tightened. She could not answer that. Instead, she poured boiling water into a mug and walked back to the bedroom. The door closed softly. Dan stood alone in the kitchen, the cat winding around his feet like it was trying to anchor him.
I am losing her, and I do not even know how to fix it.
Emma spent most of the afternoon out of the flat. She walked through Princess Street Gardens. She sat beneath Edinburgh Castle and watched tourists take photos in the drizzle. She had lunch in a cafe where nobody knew her name or her history or the weight she carried. But no matter how far she walked, her thoughts kept circling back to the same place.
I should not care, but I do. Too much, too quickly, and that scares me.
Dan stayed behind. He tried to work on a new marketing idea he had scribbled the night before. Nothing came. He watched the rain, watched the door, watched the cat who sat on the sofa like a silent therapist refusing to give notes. By late afternoon, he stood and grabbed his jacket. He needed air. He stepped outside into the drizzle and walked aimlessly through Stockbridge, letting the cool air sharpen his thoughts. He reached the bridge overlooking the water and leaned on the railing.
I have to tell her. Not about Sophie. About everything. About why I quit. About why I've been running. About why she's the first person who made me feel like I stopped running.
He stayed there until the rain soaked through his jacket. Then he walked home. See the caption. Emma returned at sunset. She opened the door quietly and slipped inside. Dan was in the living room, soaked, tired, but awake. He stood slowly.
You were gone all day.
I needed time. He swallowed.
I know, but I need to say something. Not to fix anything, just because it is true.
Emma remained still, listening.
I did not lie to you, and I did not want anything from Sophie. I wanted yesterday with you. All of it. The dancing, the laughing, the quiet moments. The moment outside the restaurant that scared the life out of me, because it felt too real.
Emma looked at him, really looked at him, and for a heartbeat the world softened. But then she closed her eyes.
Dan, I cannot do this. Not right now.
She walked past him into the bedroom. This time the door closed with a heavier sound. Dan remained in the living room, alone again. The cat climbed onto the back of the sofa and sighed loudly, as if exhausted by the emotional incompetence of humans.
Tomorrow, I will find a way to show her, not tell her, show her.
He did not know how yet, but tomorrow would decide everything. Chapter 9, The Grand Gesture. Dan barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emma's expression in the hallway, wounded, guarded, pulling away even though something in her had wanted the opposite. By morning, the rain had stopped and a pale light filled the flat. Dan stood in the living room, staring at the whiteboard on the fridge. The rules felt ridiculous now. A blockade built when they were trying not to feel something that had already taken root. He ran a hand over the back of his neck.
Talking is not enough. She will not trust words. I have to show her something real.
He moved to the bedroom door, stopped, listened, silence. He knocked once.
Emma, I'm going out for a bit. If you need the flat, it is yours.
No reply. He did not push. He grabbed his jacket and left. Emma waited until she heard the door close before she emerged from the bedroom. Her eyes were tired. Her chest felt tight. She looked around the quiet flat and let out a slow breath. She still did not know how she felt. She only knew the same ache she felt after the breakup was twisting its way back into her ribs. Too fast, too much. I let my guard drop again. She moved into the bedroom to grab her sketchbook, the one she had been using every night since she arrived. It was a habit. Drawing the day helped her make sense of things. But the sketchbook was not on the bedside table where she left it. She frowned, checked the dresser, checked beneath the pillows, checked her bag. Nothing. Where did I put it? She searched the living room, then the kitchen, then the reading chair by the window. Her chest tightened.
No, I did not lose it. That book has everything in it. Everything I have not said out loud.
She retraced every moment of yesterday, and a cold realization hit her. It had slipped out of her tote bag on the sofa, where Dan had been sitting last night. Her breath caught. If he saw it, if he read any of it. Her drawings were not just scenery and festival crowds. They were him, his smile during the dance, his profile as he looked at the river, his hand reaching for hers in the blackout. Moments she had captured without admitting why. Emma sat on the edge of the sofa, heart pounding.
He saw them. He definitely saw them. She covered her face with her hands.
This cannot be happening. Danny's halfway across Edinburgh by the time Emma pieced it together. He reached Victoria Street first, then Grassmarket, then the steps leading toward the festival square. He carried the sketchbook in his hand, the leather cover warm from his grip. He had opened it once, just once, and what he saw inside still sat in his chest like a live wire. Sketch after sketch of their week. Small moments he never thought anyone noticed. His expression when the street magician embarrassed him, the candlelight catching his face during the blackout, Emma's handwriting beneath one drawing. It feels like the first good thing after a long storm. Dan stopped on the pavement and pressed a hand to his forehead.
She feels this. She felt all of this, and she still thinks I want someone else.
He tightened his grip on the sketchbook and scanned the street, searching for her. Crowds poured around him in waves, performers, tourists, students with flyers, and somewhere among them, Emma. He moved faster. Emma left the flat moments later. Her breath was unsteady as she walked through Stockbridge toward the city center. She was not searching for him. She told herself she was not. She told herself she only needed air. But her eyes kept scanning the faces of people passing by. If he saw those drawings, I cannot even imagine what he thinks. Her feet kept moving toward the same place Dan was headed, the festival square outside St. Giles. Bustling, loud, alive with color. Dan reached the square first. He turned in circles, scanning the stream of people. He whispered her name under his breath.
Emma, come on, where are you?
And then he saw her, across the crowd, hair tucked behind her ear, moving quickly like she did not want anyone to notice she was close to crying. Dan's heart dropped into his stomach. He moved, not carefully, not slowly. He pushed past people with a single purpose. Emma lifted her head. Their eyes met. She stopped walking, just froze in the middle of the crowd. Dan reached her, breathless. He held out the sketchbook.
You left this.
Emma swallowed hard. You saw it.
Yes, and I need you to know something. In every drawing of me, in every moment you captured, I felt the same thing.
Her breath hitched. Dan stepped closer.
I do not want Sophie. I do not want the past. I do not want any version of my life that does not include you.
Emma blinked fast, overwhelmed. But I am scared, Dan. I cannot go through another heartbreak. I'm not built for it.
Then let me be the one person who does not break you.
He said it simply, quietly, like a truth he had finally stopped running from. He held the sketchbook to his chest with one hand and reached for her with the other. She hesitated, a single breath, a single heartbeat. Then she stepped into him. His arms wrapped around her in a way that felt like something locking into place at last. The noise of the festival faded. The square kept moving. But for them, time slowed. This feels like the first good thing after the storm. When they finally pulled apart, Dan opened the sketchbook to a page of the two of them dancing.
Do you know what I see when I look at these? I see someone who sees me, really sees me. Not who I was, not who I pretended to be, just me.
Emma wiped a tear from her cheek.
And what do you see when you look at me now?
Someone I want to stay with, someone I want to choose, someone I am choosing.
Emma looked down, then up at him again, and a shy, hopeful smile tugged at her mouth. She stepped closer.
Then take me home, Dan.
Gladly. Chapter 10, 7 days later.
Dan and Emma walked back to the flat, hand in hand, moving slower than the crowd around them. Not because the streets were busy, not because the festival noise swelled in every direction, but because neither wanted to break the quiet connection forming between their fingers. The cat would judge them. The whiteboard rules would mock them. The flat would feel familiar and new at the same time. Emma squeezed Dan's hand once. He squeezed back. When they pushed open the door, the cat was waiting in the center of the hallway, like a tiny, furry landlord, demanding explanations. Emma crouched down.
I know, we are late, and yes, things have escalated.
A cat flicked its tail as if approving this new development. Dan dropped his jacket on the hook beside the door and looked at Emma with a softness that made her knees weaken slightly.
Can we talk for a minute? Not serious talk, just real talk.
Real talk is scarier than serious talk.
Maybe, but it's also better.
They sat at the small kitchen table. The candle from the Blackout still sat in the middle. Emma touched the wick with her finger.
I do not know how to do this properly. Not after everything that happened before.
Then we do not do it properly. We do it honestly.
Emma looked at him, really looked. The kind eyes, the careful patience, the vulnerability he tried so hard to hide.
Why me, Dan? Why now? Why so quickly?
Dan leaned back, thinking.
Because you see the world differently. You see people differently. You see me differently. And when I am with you, I feel like I am not performing anything. I am just me. And for the first time in years, that feels like enough.
Emma's throat tightened. She blinked slowly to steady herself.
You scare me. In a good way. In a way I hate admitting.
You scare me too, which means we should probably keep going.
Emma let out a breath she did not realize she had been holding. She reached across the table and rested her hand over his. Warm, steady, real. The kind of real she had avoided for years. The kind of real that did not feel like a risk. It felt like a beginning. They made dinner together in a way that looked embarrassingly domestic. Emma chopped vegetables. Dan stirred the sauce. The cat supervised from the counter with the stern composure of a disapproving sous chef. Every bump of their elbows felt intentional. Every shared glance felt like an unspoken yes. Halfway through cooking, Dan nudged her with his shoulder.
Remember Rule 4, no flirting.
We broke that the moment you handed me that strawberry.
True, but we pretended not to notice.
We are very bad at pretending.
They both laughed. Laughter that loosened something in the air. something that had been wound tight since the misunderstanding. Unconcluded. After dinner, they stepped out onto the balcony. The street below glowed with golden light from shop windows. People wandered past in soft after-rain air. The festival still hummed in the distance, but the flat felt quiet, the right kind of quiet. Emma leaned against the rail.
It has only been a week, 7 days since I arrived. 7 days since you opened the door with toothpaste on your face.
And you still stayed. That is impressive loyalty.
Emma bumped her shoulder against his.
I would like to. Stay, if that is what you want to.
Dan turned toward her, slowly, carefully, like the moment deserved reverence.
Emma, I want to stay with you, not just in this flat, in whatever this is, in whatever comes next.
Her breath caught. She nodded once. He stepped closer. She did not move away. He lifted her chin gently and rested his forehead against hers.
Can I kiss you?
Please do. And he did. A slow, careful kiss that carried everything they had tried to hide. A kiss that softened both of them at the edges. A kiss that felt like sunlight breaking through after months of gray. Emma melted into him. Dan held her like something precious. The cat meowed loudly through the window, as if objecting to being left out of the moment. They broke apart with small laughs. That was overdue.
Very.
They returned inside and curled up on the sofa with the cat between them, pretending it was not the most significant moment of their week. Emma rested her head on Dan's shoulder. Dan rested his cheek on her hair. No rules, no pretending, no fear. Just a quiet understanding that something real had begun. Unwrapping. 7 days. A misbooked flat, a blackout, a fake date, a misunderstanding, a confession in a crowded festival square. Somehow, it all led here. The soft glow of the living room, the quiet rhythm of two people finding each other, the cat purring like a reluctant blessing. Emma closed her eyes.
This time, I choose the storm's end, not the storm.
And Dan held her a little tighter, as if choosing the very same thing. Epilogue, 1 year later. The flat had not changed much. The same blue front door, the same brass lion knocker, the same creaky hallway, the same tiny kitchen that still insisted on being too small for two people. But everything inside the flat felt different, because now it was theirs. Emma stood in the kitchen, sunlight streaming through the window as she wiped down the counter. The cat sat on the table like a tiny monarch overseeing morning operations. The whiteboard still hung on the fridge. Most of the original rules had been erased long ago. Only one remained, written neatly in Emma's handwriting. Rule 1, never leave without saying goodbye. She smiled at it every morning.
The most important rule we ever wrote.
Dan stepped inside,
arms full of shopping bags and a paper cup of coffee balanced precariously on one wrist. He nearly tripped over the cat, who immediately complained.
I live with tyrants.
You mean dependents?
No, tyrants.
Emma crossed the room and kissed him quickly, the kind of easy, familiar kiss that fit perfectly into their mornings.
You were up early?
Could not sleep. Today is a big day.
Dan grinned. Today was indeed a big day. The exhibition posters were all over Edinburgh. Stockbridge, Princes Street, the University Quarter. A small gallery had offered Emma a wall for her sketch series. 12 pieces. All watercolors based on 1 week in the city. The week that changed everything. Dan unpacked the groceries.
You ready for the show?
Nervous, but excited. Mostly excited.
You are going to be incredible.
Emma felt that quiet rush of gratitude that still hit her sometimes. A year ago, she arrived in this flat barely held together at the seams. Now she stood here with a gallery exhibition waiting for her, a partner who believed in every brushstroke she made, and a cat who had adopted them both, whether they liked it or not. She touched Dan's hand.
Thank you for everything, for the week that started this, for the year that followed, for staying.
I am not going anywhere.
They packed up the last of the prints, double-checked the frames, and headed to the door. The cat meowed loudly as if giving orders.
We will be back soon, promise.
She locked the door and slipped her hand into Dan's as they walked down the steps together. The Edinburgh air was crisp. The city hummed with life, just like the first time they met. Dan squeezed her hand gently.
Ready.
With you, always. And together they walked toward the gallery, toward the next chapter, toward the life that started with a double-booked flat, a missing host, and a cat who knew long before they did. The storm had passed, the light remained, and they had chosen each other, again and again. End. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please consider supporting us through our Ko-fi link, either in the app or on our YouTube page. You can download our free audiobook app at mylisteninglibrary.com.